The Dodgers had the lead. They had the momentum. They had everything they needed to close out this series. And then, in one single inning, it all fell apart. But the collapse on the field? That was only the beginning. Because what happened after the final out, in front of that dugout, stunned the entire baseball world. Francisco Lindor, Bo Bichette, Shohei Ohtani, and a post-game brawl that MLB is now treating as an emergency. This is the full story. Every detail. Right now. Welcome back to Baseball Tribune, the fastest, most complete source for MLB news, analysis, and everything happening in the world of baseball. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because we cover stories like this every single day and you do not want to be the last person to know what is going on. Today we have two major stories from the final game of the Dodgers and Mets series. First, how the Dodgers blew a 2-run lead and lost 8-3, with a bullpen collapse and a crucial catching error that handed the Mets the game. And second, the explosive, shocking post-game incident in which Francisco Lindor and Bo Bichette approached the Dodgers dugout and directed aggression toward Shohei Ohtani, triggering an all-out brawl and an emergency MLB investigation that is still ongoing. Buckle up. This one is a lot. Before we get into the details of Game 3, let us quickly set the stage for what this series meant heading into its final day. The Los Angeles Dodgers came into New York as the class of the National League. They were leading the NL West, they had the deepest roster in baseball, and they were looking to close out the Mets with a clean sweep. For the Dodgers, a sweep would have sent a powerful message, not just to the Mets, but to every team watching, that this organization is operating at a completely different level as the second half of the season gets underway. The Mets, on the other hand, were desperate. They had been dominated in the first 2 games of the series. Their offense had been limited. Their pitching had been pressured. And for a team with the financial firepower the Mets possess, losing a series at home to a division rival without winning a single game would have been a major embarrassment. Game 3 was not just a baseball game for them. It was about pride. It was about proving that they could compete at this level. That tension set the tone for everything that happened, on the field and, more explosively, off it. The Dodgers came out with the right energy from the very first at-bat. In the top of the first inning, Shohei Ohtani stepped into the batter's box and immediately announced his presence. He ripped a hard line drive to center field, the kind of contact that only a handful of hitters in this league can generate, and sent the ball through the Mets' defense for his 19th double of the season. Ohtani on second base, no outs, top of the first. The Dodgers had an immediate golden opportunity to put the first run on the board and set the tone for the entire game. But the hitters behind him could not deliver. The opportunity came and went without a run scoring, and that missed chance would come back to haunt the Dodgers almost immediately. The Mets answered in the bottom half of the first. A.J. Ewing opened the rally with a double of his own, and Francisco Lindor, the same Francisco Lindor who would later become the center of the post-game controversy, drove him home with an RBI single. Just like that, the Mets had a 1-0 lead, and the Dodgers were on the back foot before they had even found their rhythm. But Emmett Sheehan was not rattled. The young Dodgers starter absorbed the early run and immediately locked in. He controlled the strike zone, limited hard contact, and gave the Dodgers exactly the kind of outing they needed from their starter in a series-closing game. The Dodgers did not stay behind for long. In the third inning, Eleuteris Alfonso delivered a perfectly placed double to put a runner in scoring position, and Freddie Freeman answered the call in the biggest way. Freeman lined an RBI double near the left field line that tied the game at 1-1. The Dodgers were back level, and momentum was beginning to shift in their direction. Max Muncy kept the pressure on with a ground ball that may not have looked like much, but it was enough to bring the runner home from third and put the Dodgers ahead 2-1. The fourth inning brought more. Tommy Edman led off with a hit, and Eleuteris Alfonso continued his productive day by hitting a ground ball that brought Edman home and extended the Dodgers' lead to 3-1. The Dodgers were in control. The bats were working. And on the mound, Sheehan was quietly putting together one of the best outings of his young career. He was mixing his fastball and breaking ball with excellent timing, repeatedly inducing weak contact from the Mets lineup and preventing them from generating any real offensive threat. In the fourth inning alone, he retired Tyrone Taylor, Brett Beatty, and Luis Torrens back-to-back without breaking a sweat. By the time Sheehan walked off the mound after completing 5 innings, he had allowed just 3 hits and 1 run. The Dodgers led 3-1. Their starter had done his job completely. They were in position to close it out. Through 5 innings, the Dodgers had executed their game plan almost perfectly. The starting pitcher delivered. The offense produced 3 runs. The defense was clean. Everything pointed toward a comfortable Dodgers victory and a clean sweep of the series. What happened next was one of the most stunning collapses of the Dodgers season. The 6th inning began and everything changed. Jack Dreyer came in from the Dodgers bullpen to start the inning, and from the very first batter, it was clear something was wrong. Dreyer could not locate his pitches. He walked the first batter. Then he walked the second. 2 base runners, no outs, and the Mets with a suddenly golden opportunity to wipe out the Dodgers' lead in 1 shot. The Dodgers coaching staff moved quickly, pulling Dreyer and bringing in Evan Phillips to try to stop the bleeding. Phillips is one of the more reliable arms in the Dodgers bullpen on most nights. But this was not most nights. Tyrone Taylor stepped into the batter's box and destroyed the Dodgers with 1 swing. 3-run home run. Deep and powerful. Gone before it had even left the bat. 3-1 became 4-3 Mets. In a matter of seconds, the lead the Dodgers had built over 5 innings was completely erased, and the momentum of the entire game had swung entirely in the other direction. The Dodgers' dugout went quiet. The Mets crowd came alive. And just like that, the home team was in front. The Dodgers' offense tried to respond, but something had shifted. The quality contact that had been there in the early innings disappeared. Mets pitchers were finding their rhythm, and the Dodgers hitters were no longer getting to pitches they had been handling earlier in the game. Inning by inning, the deficit grew and the comeback felt increasingly unlikely. As if the bullpen collapse was not painful enough, the Dodgers handed the Mets another gift in the 7th inning. Dalton Rushing committed a catching error that allowed the Mets to score another run without even needing a hit. It was the kind of unforced mistake that can derail an entire game, and in this situation, with the Dodgers already behind and searching for any way back into it, that error removed whatever slim hope remained of a comeback. The game was put completely out of reach shortly afterward. With 2 Mets runners on base and 2 outs, Marcus Semien stepped into the batter's box and launched a 3-run home run to left field. It was crushing. It was decisive. It put the score at 8-3, and it made official what had been clear for several innings. The Dodgers were not coming back from this one. The final score, Mets 8, Dodgers 3. For a Dodgers team that had controlled the first 5 innings and held a 2-run lead, the 8-3 final told a story of 2 completely different games. The first half belonged to the Dodgers. The second half belonged entirely to the Mets. 2 walks. 1 error. 2 3-run home runs. That is all it took to completely flip a game the Dodgers should have won. But here is the moment that stopped the baseball world cold. And it had nothing to do with the final score. After the last out was recorded, the Mets players began celebrating their victory on the field. For them, it was a desperately needed result, a win that restored their pride after being dominated in games 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the Dodgers were gathering their belongings and preparing to make the walk from the dugout to the clubhouse. Standard post-game procedure. The game was over. The competition should have been over too. It was not. According to multiple reporters working near the field, the tension between the 2 teams had been building for several innings. Aggressive base running, competitive friction, and the emotional pressure of a high-stakes series had been pushing emotions toward a breaking point throughout the game. And when the final out landed, those emotions did not suddenly disappear. Francisco Lindor and Bo Bichette suddenly approached the visitors' dugout. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than post-game trash talk, 2 players from the winning team letting off some steam. But it escalated rapidly. The remarks turned from verbal provocation into direct, aggressive behavior directed specifically at Shohei Ohtani, who was in the dugout area preparing to leave. The moment it became clear that Ohtani was the target, the Dodgers' dugout erupted. Freddie Freeman was one of the first ones in. Kyle Tucker. Andy Pages. Multiple teammates instantly rushed forward and formed a protective barrier around Ohtani, shielding him from Lindor and Bichette and pulling him away from the immediate danger zone. The goal was clear: protect their teammate and remove him from a situation that was escalating faster than anyone could control. It did not stop there. A full brawl broke out in the dugout area. Players from both teams shoving, arguing, and charging into confrontations. Some were trying to pull teammates back. Others were rushing forward to defend people they could see getting pushed. The scene in front of the dugout was chaos, and the spectators still in the stadium watched it unfold in complete disbelief. A baseball game had just ended, and somehow it had turned into this. Stadium security responded immediately. Dozens of officers poured into the area, physically separating the two groups of players and pushing everyone back toward their respective sides. The umpires, still on the premises, entered the dugout area to document exactly what had occurred, identify the individuals directly involved in the most serious moments of the confrontation, and provide MLB with an official on-site report. It took several minutes before order was fully restored. And the moment it was, MLB opened an emergency investigation. Every piece of available footage was collected that same night. Stadium camera footage, television broadcast angles, dugout camera recordings, and witness statements from reporters, security personnel, and players. MLB treated the situation as urgent because of the specific nature of what had occurred. This was not an on-field argument during live play. This was post-game aggression, directed deliberately at one of the biggest stars in the sport, in the dugout area after the final out had already been recorded. MLB issued a formal statement holding nothing back. The league declared that Lindor and Bichette's actions were completely inconsistent with the standards of professional conduct expected of players at this level. Provocative behavior that intentionally escalated tensions after a game had ended ran directly against the spirit of fair play that MLB works continuously to protect and promote. And then came the most extraordinary development of all. MLB proposed overturning the Mets' victory in the game. That statement alone signals just how seriously the league is treating this incident. Post-game investigations resulting in proposed overturned results are extraordinarily rare in professional baseball. The fact that MLB went there immediately speaks volumes about how egregious Lindor and Bichette's conduct was considered to be. For Shohei Ohtani personally, this was a day defined by two very different emotions. On the field, he started strongly. His 19th double of the season in the very first inning showed that his bat remains one of the sharpest weapons in the entire Dodgers lineup. He was making quality contact and doing his job from the leadoff spot. But his final three at-bats did not produce the results he was looking for, and his two strikeouts reflected the Mets pitchers making intelligent adjustments as the game progressed. It was the kind of day that even the best hitters in the world experience, a strong start that fades as the opposing pitching staff finds its solution. But what happened after the game is what will define this day in baseball history. Ohtani has consistently carried himself with remarkable dignity through every controversy and competitive challenge he has faced in his career. He competes with everything he has. He respects the game. He respects his opponents. And even when he has been targeted, verbally, physically, and now again in this post-game situation, he has never responded in a way that inflamed the situation further or damaged his own reputation. That composure, in moments like this one, is what separates him from almost every other player in the sport. And it is exactly why the baseball world reacts the way it does when he is targeted. Fans, former players, analysts, and media members all understand that going after Ohtani is not just going after a player. It is going after the face of the entire sport. Here is the bottom line from this series. The Dodgers won 2 games. The Mets took 1. But the final game revealed real vulnerabilities in the Dodgers roster that cannot be ignored heading into the second half of the season. The bullpen, which has been a concern all year, exposed itself at the worst possible moment. The offense demonstrated a troubling inability to maintain pressure when runners are in scoring position. And the defensive error that opened the door in the 7th inning is exactly the kind of mistake that will cost you games when October arrives. But here is the thing about the Dodgers that separates them from every other team in this league. They have the depth, the experience, and the organizational intelligence to identify those problems and address them before they become fatal. They have done it before. And with the trade deadline approaching, expect them to do it again. As for the post-game brawl, MLB will handle Lindor and Bichette. The investigation is moving quickly, and based on everything that has been reported, significant consequences are coming. The league cannot allow post-game violence directed at a player of Ohtani's standing to pass without the kind of punishment that sends a clear message to every other team in baseball. The Dodgers are still the team to beat in the National League. They are still the favorites to reach the World Series. And Shohei Ohtani, on the field and off it, is still the most important, most watched, and most respected player in the game today. One loss does not change that. One brawl does not change that. October will tell the real story. And the Dodgers will be there. That is all for today's video. If you made it this far, you already know what to do. Smash that like button, subscribe to Baseball Tribune if you have not already, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story. Share this video with every MLB fan you know, and drop a comment below. Do you think MLB should overturn the Mets' victory? Let us hear it. We will see you in the next one, right here on Baseball Tribune.